Right, guys. I made a video a few days back about the concept that I started to develop about because it's taken a lot to figure out what the hell has specifically gone wrong with me. Not just now the breakthrough in India about the how I'm attracting attention and negativity 24/7, and how your varying degrees of self-esteem attract your negative attention to the degree which your self-esteem is damaged. That one was figured out in India. But since then, obviously, I'm trying to push on with the little details, and I made a video a few days ago, maybe last week. That video said that, I'm trying to think what that video said. That video said that I am more likely to go into fight or flight because there's an imbalance in my stress cortisol levels. My natural baseline is much higher, and it takes just one little thing of somebody having a bad day, for example, or some little ego moment of coughing or a feeling of superiority which they need to show me, and then all of a sudden, boom, my stress is gone. I'm in fight or flight. And most of the time, if it's at work, for example, I can't run away, so I go into, from not flight, I choose fight, and then I start to sink into their petty kind of, you're better than me, and I go, oh, no, you're not, and I start sinking into a lower consciousness mode. Basically, fight or flight is lower consciousness. But it wasn't far enough. I didn't go far enough with that, because what I know is that my baseline stress chemicals are way out of balance compared to a normal human being. And I mean this. I don't even want to exaggerate, but I'm being completely honest. It is way out of balance, and the evidence of this is that I am so overly focused and selfish. It's ridiculous, and the manifestations and the proof that I am overly obsessed with self and egotistical, even though it's not my fault, it's just the way it is because of the damage I've done. The proof of that is in the fact that I feel the need to control situations. I can't hack it when I'm not in control of situations, so I try and re-establish myself with control by inhabiting negative characteristics so I can maintain the control in the situation, especially when I'm outside my comfort zone in public, which is pretty much just anywhere. But also another little example of how overly focused and selfish, self-absorbed I am, how my baseline is so far out of whack that I'm selfish, is I have no interest. It sounds so fucking bad. It's not my future, but I'm going to point to you my present, and obviously it was a lot worse in the past. My present is that I don't feel, I can't ask questions. I'm not curious about other people. Unless selfishly it's to do with self-improvement and I can learn lessons from them, I can't ask questions just for the sake of vibing. And that's another one. Not only can I not ask questions about people, I feel awkward asking it. I feel outside my comfort zone. It feels wrong because it's not me, because I'm so focused on myself. See, when you're so focused on yourself, you can't ask the questions. But also another manifestation is, probably the biggest one, is I can't vibe. Unless I'm in state. That doesn't happen a lot. It will happen more in the future, but it doesn't happen a lot now. If I'm not in state, then I can't vibe with nobody. I can't vibe. And that's what vibing is, being in the present moment, not focused on yourself, just feeling good in the moment, asking questions and all that kind of stuff. When I first read Joey Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, actually, this was, I don't know, about 2 years ago, I could relate a lot to it. And I'm going to read out the bit I can relate to, and I'm going to emphasise the bit that stood out for me and made so much sense, because I'm always trying to discover what the hell went wrong, and this was an indicator at the time, which makes a lot more sense now. I'm going to read to you. Bear with me. Page 105 of Joey Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, The Selfish Self. I'm going to read it. As you can see, what we identify as our self exists within... As you can see, what we identify as ourself exists within the context of our collective emotional association with our thoughts and feelings, our problems, and all those elements of the big three. Is it any wonder that people find it so hard to go within and leave this self-produced reality behind? How would we know who we are if it weren't for our environment, our bodies, and our time? That's why we are so dependent upon the external world. We limit ourselves to using our senses to define and cultivate emotions so that we can receive the psychological feedback that reaffirms our own personal addictions. We do all this to feel human. Now, when our survival response is way out of proportion to what's happening in the outer world, that excess of stress hormones causes us to become fixated within the parameters of self. So we become overly selfish. We obsess about our bodies or a particular aspect of our environment, and we live enslaved to time. We're trapped in this particular reality, and we feel powerless to change, to break the habit of being ourselves. Get this bit, it gets even better. These excessive survival motions tip the scales of a healthy ego, the self we consciously refer to when we say I. When the ego is in check, its natural job is to make sure we are protected and safe in the outer world. As an example, the ego makes sure we stay far away from a bonfire or a few steps away from the cliff edge. Basically, it keeps us alive, right? Okay, 1 second. When the ego is balanced, its natural instinct is self-preservation. There's a healthy balance between its needs and those of others, its attention to itself and to others. Now this is the key bit that actually, woke me up. Because I was in, not slumber, I'm always trying to figure out, and I've lost count of how many times I've reread this paragraph, this particular bit. It's so meaningful to me, and very few books are. So anyway, when we're in survival mode in an emergency situation, it makes sense that the self should take priority. But when chronic, long-term stress chemicals push the body and brain out of balance, the ego becomes over-focused on survival and puts the self first to the exclusion of anything else. We're selfish all the time. Thus, we become self-indulgent, self-centered, and self-important, full of self-pity and self-loathing. When the ego is under constant stress, it's got a me-first priority. Another paragraph that made a huge impact. Coming up. Under these conditions, the ego is primarily concerned with predicting every outcome of every situation because it is over-focused on the outside world and feels completely separated from the 99.99999% of reality. In fact, the more we define reality for our senses, the more this reality becomes our law. Our material reality as law is the very opposite of the quantum law. Whatever we place our awareness on is our reality. Consequently, if our attention is focused on the body and on our physical realm, and if we become locked into a particular line of linear time, then this becomes our reality. Yeah, I was looking at the next paragraph to read out, but no. Those last 2 paragraphs I read out to you are the ones that had the most impact. Basically, at the core of what happened to me is a self-esteem whack job that pushed my chemical hormone stress imbalance so far out of whack that even with exercise, meditation, right action, cold approaching, eating good food, getting good quality sleep, even with all those things, I can tame the ego somewhat compared to if I didn't do those things, for sure. But even with all those keystone habits put in place, I'm still in this moment way too focused on myself, overly selfish, overly protective. I am living in fight or flight pretty much 24/7, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. But that is the reality. And now that I know the reality, and now that I'm happy to talk about this reality, which I probably wouldn't have been 6, 7 years ago, 4 years ago, I can change. And, there's no denying the fact also that under certain conditions of control, when I'm in my comfort zone of my own house with people I know, like my family, my mum and dad, looking after me, and I don't have to challenge myself to be out there, and I've just got good books to read, and I've got good TV to watch, I can actually not just protect myself, I can build a state somewhat. I can build myself into an upward cycle of learning, which makes me feel really good about myself. So it's not all doom and gloom. I don't want to make it out to you that, he lives 24/7 in stress, fight or flight. To the degree I do, but I've got a comfort zone of sorts in my house where I can really fix myself, learn, regroup, de-stress, learn, all these kind of things. So I appreciate my life. So, yeah, just wanted to get that down. See how this comes out. Peace.